Hello everyone, the topic for today's discussion is tetanus. So let's start. What exactly is the tetanus? Tetanus is an illness which is characterized by acute onset of hypertonia, painful muscle contraction, and commonly involved muscles are of jaws and neck, and generalized muscle spasm without any other apparent medical cause. So basically, it has an acute onset, mostly involving the muscular system. Fine. It is caused by Clostridium tetani. And what are the features of Clostridium tetani? It's a gram positive, spore forming, anaerobic bacteria. Fine. It's gram positive, anaerobic bacilli, and spore forming. Fine. This can be asked as questions, so you need to remember. So this is just what I have told you. It's a large gram positive rod shaped bacteria, spore forming and anaerobic. And where is it found? It is found in the soils, especially in heavily manured soils and in the intestinal tract and fecal material of animals. Fine. It has the fermentive mode of metabolism. All these features of Clostridium tetani you need to remember. The spores of Clostridium tetani, they are found in soils throughout the world. So it's found everywhere. And these spores, they are resistant to any harsh conditions like heat, radiation, chemicals, drying. So they can survive for long period of time because they are resistant to all these things. They can survive for up to 100 years. Fine. If we look at the methods of transmission of tetanus, we may get tetanus following the burns, deep puncture wounds, ear or dental infections, animal bites, or post surgical like abortion. And mind it, only growing bacteria can produce toxin. Which type of bacteria can produce toxin? Only growing bacteria. And one thing more you need to remember is that it's the only vaccinated preventable disease which is infectious but not contagious from person to person. Other diseases like diphtheria, pertussis, they can be contagious also. But this is the only vaccine preventable disease which is infectious but not contagious. Clear? Now let's see what exactly happens when toxin is released in the bloodstream. See, when Clostridium tetani, it releases the exotoxin, that is tetanospasmin, in the bloodstream. It binds to the peripheral motor neuron terminals and nerve cells of anterior horn of spinal cord. Which area? Anterior horn of spinal cord. Clear? So this retinospasmin, it binds to the peripheral motor neurons and the nerve cells of anterior horn of spinal cord. Then after entering the axon, this is transported to the cell body in brainstem and spinal cord. So it's going retrograde way. That's why it is retrograde intraneural transport. Fine. So which route Clostridium tetani shows? It shows retrograde intraneural transport. Fine. And this toxin, that is tetanospasmin toxin, it migrates across the synapse, presynaptic terminals, and blocks the release of glycine and GABA from the vesicles. So it blocks the release of glycine and GABA from the vesicles. Now, what happens when it blocks the release of glycine and GABA? See, it blocks the release of inhibitory neurotransmitters, which are glycine and GABA. These inhibitory neurotransmitters, they're required to check the nerve impulse. Fine. So if these inhibitors are blocked, what will happen? The nerve impulses, they cannot be checked or stopped by inhibitory mechanisms. So that will lead to unstoppable muscular contraction and spasm, which are the characteristics of tetanus. Clear? So basically, this tetanospasmin, it blocks the inhibitory neurotransmitters, that is glycine and GABA. Fine. So when this inhibitory neurotransmitters, when these are blocked, what will happen? There will not be any check on the muscle contraction, which will occur unstoppable. That will lead to continued muscle contraction and spasm, which is the characteristic feature of tetanus. I hope it's clear. It's very important. You need to understand this. So if we look at the symptoms of tetanus, tetanic seizures, which are painful, powerful bursts of muscle contraction. This we have already seen why there is continuous painful, powerful muscle contractions. According to the location of muscle contraction, different signs and symptoms can appear. For example, if these muscle spasms they affect the larynx or chest wall, it may result in asphyxiation. And if these contractions these occur in the jaw muscles, it can result in stiffness of the jaw, also known as lockjaw. Stiffness of abdominal or back muscles can occur. Similarly, contraction of facial muscles can occur. There will be fast pulse, fever, and sweating in case of tetanus. Fine. So, these are the main features of tetanus. Now, if we summarize the features of patients with tetanus, basically, the person suffering from tetanus undergoes convulsive muscle contraction, that is, unstoppable muscle contractions of the jaw leading to lockjaw condition. So, in which condition we can see the lockjaw? It is tetanus. Fine. The contraction of muscles of the back and extremities, they may become so violent that the strong bone fractures may occur, and the affected individual is conscious throughout the illness but cannot stop these contractions. Why? Because there is the blocking of inhibitor neurotransmitters, that is glycine and GABA, which we have already seen. Clear? The other condition which we can see in tetanus is opisthotonus. What is this? It is a condition in which the muscles of neck and the trunk they become rigid and back is slightly arched. Fine? Because back muscles are more powerful, thus creating an arc backward. This is a characteristic feature of tetanus known as opisthotonus. This may be asked as image-based questions, so you should know this. And a baby with neonatal tetanus, he or she may show complete rigidity due to muscle contractions. Fine. So, all these features of tetanus you need to remember. So, if we look at the pattern, how it affects the body, the tetanus it affects in descending pattern. First occurs the lockjaw, then descending downwards, there occurs the stiffness of the neck, then difficult swallowing, rigidity of the abdominal and back muscles, and this type of spasm it continues for 3 to 4 weeks, and the recovery of spasm it can take months, and finally the death may occur if this spasm it interferes with the respiration. So basically there is descending pattern of involvement of the organs. Clear? How do we diagnose the patient with tetanus? Basically, patient's account and physical findings are characteristics of the disease. This we have already seen. We can check the history of the patient if there was any trauma by which the Clostridium tetani entered into the skin. And if culture is positive, it confirms the diagnosis of tetanus. Fine. But the primarily, we need to check the physical findings which are characteristic features of the tetanus. This we have already seen: lockjaw, rhizus sardonicus, opisthotonus, rigidity of the body. All these are the characteristic features of the tetanus. Now, if we look at the tetanus prophylaxis or how to prevent the tetanus, it can be prevented by immunization with tetanus toxoid. And here we give the formalin inactivated tetanus toxoid, where 3 to 4 doses are given plus booster dose every 10 years. Fine. The efficacy of tetanus toxoid is 100%. If we look at the immunization of tetanus, in case of non-immunized persons, basically 0.5 ml of tetanus toxoid is given on the preferably on the left arm or gluteal region. Fine. And this is repeated after every 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 12 months, after which booster dose is injected every 4 years. Like booster dose is given 0.5 ml, again 1 year later 0.5 ml. And the passive immunization is given to the non-immunized persons at the time of injury so as to give the adequate cover during the period needed to establish the active immunity. Clear? One thing more you need to remember is that the penicillin is bacteriostatic drug for Clostridium tetani, which prevents the production of exotoxin. Fine. I hope this chapter of tetanus, how it is transmitted, what are the characteristic features of this tetanus, and how we can prevent it, they are clear to you. Thanks for watching. Take care.